Rutherford Issues with Bryan Barrett on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Rutherford Issues is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric, and through Sharing Change, MTE has contributed over $11 million to local nonprofits supporting worthy causes here in our community. Find out more at sharingchange.org. Speaking of worthy causes, we're going to talk about the United Way of South Central Tennessee today, and specifically about the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, or VITA. Do some people call it VITA?
Yes,
okay,
they do.
I thought they might. Ashley Wenzel joins us, the Director of Economic Mobility. Are there any other names? Velveeta? Maybe.
No, I've heard VITA, and actually last week at Patterson Park, someone's like, "Are you here with VITA?" And it was such a whirlwind that day that I'm like, "No," and she's thinking I'm there with someone, but VITA.
Oh, VITA, like
VITA,
a person named
like a
VITA.
person.
Yeah.
So we all cracked up about that.
I guess. Wow.
Yes.
But it is that time of the year, and folks by now will have all of their tax information, so I'm sure you're going hot and heavy, huh?
We have been going, and we even started earlier this year. Normally we start on the 31st when we have our big EITC kickoff and celebration. This year we started on the 30th, the day before, and then our Fayetteville site that I assumed this year with the county stretches, they started a week before that.
Oh, wow.
So we have been busy already.
I bet. So tell me a little bit about that, because last year versus this year, VITA, I mean, you've added a larger service area.
Yes. Well, we're now officially the 7 counties, but towards the end of the prep season, when I was here last, we were only officially over the 4. And so all of our VITA sites are deployed in the 4 counties, and we're working on for next year to be in the 7 counties, but this year we are in all 4.
Wow. And all of that kind of starts and begins here with planning and all of that. So.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And, I've been saying, too, because it has been stressful, of course.
Sure.
And a lot of that was not done with added staff. Some of us just have to been more involved. And we had to double our volunteers from about 30 volunteers to 60 volunteers.
Yeah.
And managing volunteers can sometimes be different than managing staff. But it's been really great. And what I just love to see is, aside from the stress and from, all the added things that you have to think about, being able to see every day that we're able to serve more people. And when you work at United Way, that is what you're all about.
Well, sure. Yeah.
So it's been really great.
Well, and who better to kind of be working toward that from the top down than a very successful United Way when it was just Rutherford and Cannon counties? I mean, there has to be a reason why this United Way was chosen to kind of absorb more into the area.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And I think that there's some fear of, well, if we're taking over these counties, are we still going to be able to? And I've already seen in the 2 weeks just with VITA alone and our Launch Point program, the other main program that I oversee, that we're still able to actually serve more here as well. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't just expand us in the counties, it expands what we're able to do and our capacity here in the county. So I'm just excited to continue to show the community that.
Well, I know we're going to talk a lot about VITA today, but what is Launch Point?
So Launch Point is our family program.
Okay.
We're calling it our Thriving Families program. It's an 18-month program that takes families from basically struggling to survive, live paycheck by paycheck, those families that are struggling with the benefit cliff and things like that. And so they have 18 months of coaching, and that's with our coaches. We have social work team, case managers that work with them, almost daily for some of our clients, just managing those things that they don't know how to handle. And then we have Dominion Financial, which is a partner, and a few other partners that help us in the financial sector, where they get financial coaching to help build a budget to get out of having to rely on resources, government resources. And it's been really fascinating to watch that program grow as well.
Is that a fairly new program, or has it been around for a while?
It's been a couple years,
okay,
but we really have refined it, and it's become very robust. We've been sharing it with other United Ways and things like that, and actually working with DHS on and sharing. We just shared with them this week even how to use the benefit cliff calculator to really look closely at families and how we really get them out of that, mm-hmm. how we get them from surviving to thriving.
Well, that's awesome. And the fact that you can collaborate with with other even state agencies. It doesn't have to even be a nonprofit, for instance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, VITA, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, going strong. So kind of give us the details on who would be eligible for the tax assistance.
Yes. So our VITA preparers are able to do any individual or families that are less than $80,000 a year. There are some qualifications, just very few, that we're not able to do, even if you're in that threshold. If you have a small business of your own, we're not able to file that. If you receive extra income, such as certain very specific things like pastoral work that you're being paid for, or any farm ownership, we're not able to do. But other than that, any family under $80,000 or individual under $80,000, we're able to do that for free.
Yeah, that's when you start adding, K1s for businesses and, the farm stuff, it gets complicated. And I've known a little bit about the pastoral work and all the deductions. And so, that's a little more intense.
Yes.
So, do you have to live in Rutherford County and all that to kind of qualify?
You do not, actually.
Okay.
We actually have a ton of people that are from out of state even.
Really?
And we're still able to provide that service because a lot of our funding and structure for that is through the IRS. And so we're able to serve majority of the people are in the counties that we're serving,
Sure.
whichever four it is. And we have some people who actually visit our other counties because they work in the other counties, but they live here. So yeah, that does not matter. And we're serving people that are outside, but trying to build their life here.
So I know that the United Way, Ashley, has been very involved with this program, VITA program. How does it match up with your, points or your mission?
Yeah.
Maybe that word.
So financial stability is one of our 4 pillars that we really focus on. And it's really important. And I know I've done a lot of talking with you and some of the other hosts here about the importance of financial stability, because even our other sectors of mental health, early childhood education, they all start in that financial stability, because if you are not safe and you don't know where you're going to be living next week. And so financial stability fits perfectly with VITA, because last year alone, just for Rutherford County, we saved the county over $500,000 in fees and taxing and preparing fees, and put 1.8 or somewhere just above that number back into the pockets of the people in our community. And so that all stays in our local economy here.
So Ashley Wenzel is joining us, the Director of Economic Mobility with the United Way of South Central Tennessee. The fact that those that make under 80,000, is that household or is it individual?
Well, it's individual or household.
Okay.
So if you're filing jointly, it still has to be under that threshold. But if you're an individual and you're less than that $80,000, you qualify.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Those are typically the folks who maybe are a little unstable with their finances.
And that's a great point, Bryan, because everything we do in United Way, we are always thinking of the whole person, right? And so, or the whole community. And so one thing that's really neat is these families, one thing that I do and my lead does is in the beginning when we're training and they're going through all their IRS trainings, we have these volunteers learn about LaunchPoint. We typically also have a staff that's on site as well, but we educate them. So when they see a family that they identify, okay, this is someone who could benefit from something like LaunchPoint, we're able to refer them to that service. So it is really a two-way street.
And that is also, unfortunately, the demographic that can get pulled into some of these places that will promise to give you your money that day, right then. Yes. And there's so many fees attached to that. I mean, we're talking hundreds of dollars per return, aren't we?
Yes. And we call that predatory kind of marketing. And so a lot of folks we're learning so much this year. That's what I love about it. I'm in a constant state of learning and planning and improving, I should say, learning and improving. And so one thing is that people learned that last year. People learned that even TurboTax was not free at the very end. It had all these, error messages and then they finally get through it and then, oh, you owe $40 and you also owe this debt, and so it was eye-opening, and we're hearing a lot of that. last year we put out a lot of education. We really tried to focus on education about the new W-2 and how to prepare yourself, and those kind of things, and just student credits and whatnot. This year we've learned new things that we'll talk about in our education for next year. So you're absolutely correct on that.
So VITA locations are open now?
They are open now.
Okay. So is this I'm sure we had to ramp up to this to get to this point, but there's more than one location here now, right?
Oh, there's more
several.
than one location. So we're at Patterson Park.
Okay. That's
kind of been our primary, and we just celebrated them for 10 years of partnership. But we are there Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and we'll be adding a Sunday to help with the demand. So that's exciting, but new, and we're excited about that. And it will just help people with access that are working Monday through Friday. We are at the Smyrna Town Hall again now, and that is Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Potential for Sundays, but we haven't confirmed that. And like I said, I assumed the new site in Fayetteville, so our Lincoln County partners who started early. I'm not going to say the times for that, or our Shelbyville site. Everything is on our website at yourlocaluw.org/VITA, or just our main website, uw.org, or yourlocaluw.org. If you can't find it, you'll get there.
Okay. I'll put a link to that on our podcast too. That way folks can get to that as well. So is it walk-in? Do you make appointments? How does that work?
So there are a lot, and I'm glad that you asked that. So we do take appointments. I do encourage appointments. We are seeing a lot more folks this year, which is great.
Yeah.
We have doubled our goals. And so, but I do encourage, we take walk-ins, but we cannot always guarantee walk-ins, because it just depends on how many preparers we have and how many appointments and how complicated some of them are. So you can make an appointment. You can walk in. Just know that there are some times, and not always, we've been taking lots of walk-ins, but it's not always possible depending on what time you come or how many other walk-ins walk in.
Takes a lot of volunteers. You had about 40 last year? I'm sure it's more than that.
Yeah, we had under 40 last year, and we have about just under 60 this year, and we're still taking volunteers, and that's been really cool. This VITA program takes a village. A lot of people will ask, well, how can we tip, or can we, which absolutely we cannot accept anything like that. And so we had one gentleman just last week who saw us checking off boxes that we're not allowed to ask anymore, because of the federal government, and he wanted to sit there and check those boxes off for us and be a volunteer. And we've gained volunteers even through the season, and we're still looking. So.
Oh, good. So if someone wants to volunteer.
If you want to volunteer, go to that same site, that same yourlocaluw.org/VITA, and there's a volunteer link there.
Got less than a minute left, Ashley, but you've got some pop-up dates that are coming up too, right?
Yes. So we have several pop-up dates. I'm not going to list them. I'm going to refer back. I know that we're at Motlow on March 5th. That seems to be one that we get quite a few people at. It's from 1 to 5. Several that will be at the Jones College of Business at MTSU. All those dates and times are listed on our website.
Okay. So we'll check them out there. And our friends in Cannon County, they can come over, or I think you're going to be there too at some point.
I think we're going to have a pop-up there as well. Yeah. Yes, at the Senior Center.
Good. Well, I know it's a busy time.
It's a very busy time, but it's good. It's good.
Appreciate you spending a little bit of that with us today, telling folks about VITA.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Ashley Wenzel joining us today here on the show, and she is the Director of Economic Mobility with the United Way of South Central Tennessee. We've been talking about VITA today, the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. Yourlocaluw.org/VITA, where you can find all the information.